Welcome back to RxD Voices. I know it's been a while since I put out a video, which is what we are going to get into as to why it's been a while, since I've been busy with a bunch of other stuff. Yes, what you are watching is gameplay of Tears of the Kingdom. Really good game, especially if you like Breath of the Wild. And it is coming from my capture card, which I've been trying forever to get to work. But now that it's working, expect to see even more gameplay footage here for videos than just say Halo or something. Alright, let's get into it. So, one of the things I was busy with was I just finished recording an audio drama, which I can't reveal about. Last year, I did a play at the SF War Memorial Atrium called Animal Farm by George Orwell. One of my teachers from college asked me to be a part of the play as an emergency casting due to somebody having to drop out who then actually ended up coming back. But because I was already cast, she went with me, and then she put the original person who was cast in another role. So I had a new role. Performance was fun. All the cast members were really solid actors. Even some of them were new and they were solid. Now, fast forward to what this has to do with today. Back on a few days ago, I would say, from when this video was made, we recorded the audio drama version of this play that I was in last year. So at the beginning of the month, my teacher comes back to me and says, hey, do you want to reprise your role in the audio drama version of this play? And I said, hell yeah, I would. Got the scheduling sorted out, and then, as of a few days ago, we recorded for 3 hours in a studio. It's also worth noting that this was my first time in a recording studio, and it was amazing. Not just being in a studio, but also to being around serious actors, or at least people who were willing to take this serious. Some of them were new. Most of them didn't do voice acting, except me. So when I stepped in there, one, it's a good thing I checked my ego, because about 10 minutes into the session, I already started seeing people just straight up commit on the mic to their acting choices and everything. And again, some of these people, they were new to acting in general, and they were doing amazing. Especially when I compare them side by side by some of the people I run into who say, I want to be a voice actor because I want to be in anime. And those ones fell short to these new people for this audio drama. So there was that. Now, what I'm going to get into is about proper studio etiquette, which you probably have heard, but this is a good reminder. So after stepping into the studio, I met the tech team, amazing tech team, by the way. And one of the biggest differences about how this was done was the fact that we had multiple people in the studio recording area, which almost never happens unless you're doing like a Wallace session. Like, we had a whole circle of people with mics all recording one at a time, and it worked. I honestly couldn't tell you the first way of how that is done without them clashing with other mics and things, but it worked. So we were introduced to the engineers, and then after that we were given a set schedule by a director on what would happen. If you were in a scene, you're here. If you weren't, step outside or step away from the mic. The main key point to know is that whatever process happens when you get into a recording session, listen. Listening is just as important as speaking in anything, probably even more important. If your director says this is what you're going to do, listen so that you know what you're going to do. And if you got questions because you don't understand something, ask them. When your audio engineer gives you directions like, we're going to do a pickup, please stand by and keep the mics quiet while we adjust certain things. Please speak into the mic so we can get levels. Listen. It is very important that you listen when you're in a studio so you know what to do and you don't just sit around there wondering what the hell to do. The next thing to cover. So I know most of you have heard this by now, but never touch the microphone. It's not yours. Proper studio etiquette is you do not touch the mic, one, because it's not yours, and because it's not yours, you're not touching it so that you don't end up doing damage to it. We were working with AT-5050s, I believe, but either way, I literally told the engineer when I saw the mic was what I thought was off. I said, hey, is this supposed to be here? I don't want to touch the mic because it's not mine. And so she adjusted it. So with that adjusted, I just went forward from there. Now, I have heard you can touch the stand in case you got to like adjust it to height. I personally, until I get comfortable with that, I'd rather they do it. Keep water on hand. That's very important. I was in there for 3 hours, and honestly, I would have loved to stay there for even longer if I could. There was no other place I'd rather be. Not work, not anywhere else but there. Although I will say my job currently, I really do like the people I work with. Especially on the weekends. Really cool people I work with. But anyways, water is very important because when you're in a long recording session, you get dried out and you gotta hydrate. Honestly, I wish I brought even bigger water. Even though they provided water, I wish I brought like a giant ass jug of water and stuff so I could just start chugging that down to keep myself hydrated. Because I wasn't just talking, I was acting. 2, I was yelling. And 3, I was making animal sounds. In fact, my animal sounds were like so out there that some of the people were looking at me like, yo, what the f***, is he okay? And if you ever get asked that question, you just look at them like, hey, I'm a voice actor. You bring me into a studio, you better believe I'm ready to commit. No, but seriously, my cast, they were really cool and really solid people that I've worked with before. And some new faces, which were just great. And then to sum this all up, training. So I've been trained as both an actor and a voice actor. And I'm always training. I'm always refining my craft. It's just a never-ending process, which I'm fine with. But it does make a difference. If you are just starting out in this and you ask, hey, where do I start first? And you get the usual cliche answer of training, it's cliche for a reason because it's important and it works. Now, while some of the people I was working with, they weren't trained voice actors, they were trained actors. They had been in shows, they knew their fundamentals, they knew what the to do, which is starkly different from someone who got into this and just wants instant gratification by something like, I just want to be an anime or a Blizzard game. Because these people knew what it was like to be actors, getting them in front of a mic wasn't that big of a challenge. And once they got used to the terrain, they adjusted. A lot of them had fun too, and you could just feel it. Some of them who knew my background, they were like, this is fun, man, I really enjoy this. It was honestly great to see. But the main point is that training matters. There is a reason why you are always recommended to work on your acting skills if you're new to voice acting. Because it makes a difference. You don't have to go through a whole long course like I did, but at least something to really get you started. Because I'm telling you, if you work on your acting skills in one way or another, they're just going to keep improving, especially with the right training and the right backing, to the point that when you do get to something like anime, you're able to deliver. Things aren't going over your head, and the only things that are going over your head are stuff you've never even heard of, like some new terminology or something completely out of left field, which usually aren't held against you because they're new. For me, when they put me in front of that mic, I knew what to do as a voice actor, and I was listening to make sure anything that was unclear, not mentioned earlier, or special to the project, I was listening to, so I knew about it. I was making sure I had water on hand. I had like 2 green apples on me as well, and I munched down one of them as fast as I could so that my mouth clicks wouldn't kick in. I personally don't need an excuse to eat a green apple. I'll just do it off a whim. But all the things that I have learned as a voice actor, that I took the time to train, that I put the money into investing, they paid off here. Okay, I knew what I was doing. They were like, hey, we need to do a retake because we had a small mess up in the audio earlier. Great. Hey, you're having some plosives hit the mic. I was like, all right, cool. Went over back to them and said, hey, when I start yelling or speaking really loud, do you want me to tilt my head a little bit away from the mic so that all that air doesn't hit it? They're like, yeah, sure, please do that. I knew my stuff because I was trained in it. And then when it came to my director saying, hey, we want this, I was able to deliver, or at the very least, able to deliver something that could be used for the project. So these are some things to note that when you step into a studio or a live recording session that you have on hand or are doing. Because just those little things can really make a big difference in how people view you and how they treat you within the industry. That being said, Animal Farm, the audio drama, will be coming soon, and if I do get the permission to drop it here, I will. Once again, big shout out to the cast. It was awesome being able to work with some of you again and meeting new faces, because I like meeting new and interesting people. I'll be honest, this whole cast kept me on my toes and had me making sure that I was pushing to be the best actor I could be. And it's so great when you can work with people like that. Thanks for listening. Hit that like, subscribe button, and I'll see you guys around.